We're back. This is Mission Impossible. I'm Coach M J, your host. Today we're joined by a guru from the United Kingdom who has excelled in nutritional wellness, excelled as an entrepreneur, as a master sales coach, as an individual who's run corporations and businesses throughout the world. His name is Andy Parker. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. Absolute thanks for allowing me to join.
And tonight, we're going to ask him, we're going to drill into some actual special topics for anyone out there who's thinking about starting their own business or is in a business or is running HR of a big department across the world. And it's going to be about attitude. How important is that? He's a martial artist. He's an entrepreneur. He's done it all. How important is attitude when you're hiring someone, Andy?
Well, first off, what an introduction. I feel like taking a bow in tribute to your kind words. Attitude is everything, Mike. More than everything, it's the only thing. From a positivity perspective to the way you discipline, handle yourself, the way you handle your processes, there's no greater thing than attitude. I've been involved with a lot of people over a lot of years. And that's the one key metric which they have to bring to the table more than anything else is, an attitude whereby they're willing to give something up, i.e. the price of success has to go with that attitude.
I agree. And, so many people today talk about, well, I need somebody who's got a college degree. I need somebody who's got 10 years of experience. All those things are important. But when it really comes down to it, isn't it internal belief? Isn't it the presence of a person?
Yeah.
It really gives you the feeling whether they believe it can be done or not.
Well, you and I have had some chats at length on this. Obviously, we've linked the warrior spirit, for example, into this, talking about our own chi, that what we invest in that sort of inner balance, which helps us to achieve more. So I would say the digging deep on how to release your own energy, your ultimate energy, which equals the higher levels of commitment. That to me, linked to it is another key metric to success. There's, over the period of years and years and years that I've been helping others to achieve greatness, there's these little cornerstones, there's these little building blocks that you and I discuss. They've become more prevalent now, more important as the world sort of, verbally being described as on the decline. I completely disagree with that. Out of these times now, these tougher times, I only see more opportunity. But the key metrics that you and I discuss, these are the difference between being you could say winner and loser, but more importantly, an achiever,
And those metrics, when it really comes down to, are those building blocks for someone who's looking to hire someone, for someone who's looking to make an assessment about someone. Just feeling that energy is a real big, important part of that, isn't it?
Oh, mate, 1,000,000%. The UK, for example, it seems to be an ever decreasing market, as in the labour pool is shrinking. I think with the Brexit, that's obviously not so much damaged, but it's taken a lot of people out of the marketplace. So now from an HR perspective, you have to be more fine-tuned with your processes on your recruitment. So, CVs, for example, I always ask for someone to send a CV, but the CV is the last thing on my mind. It's that face-to-face time. I can get more out of someone within 5 minutes of face-to-face time than some, 3-page A4 CV of nonsense. I'm more interested in the person, predominantly people skills match with a desire and that energy deep down. Success is to me, we're all born with the same ability potentially, as in to study, learn, practice, and achieve what we want to achieve. But it's that first step of the journey whereby, they've got to make a commitment to want to do something. So the recruitment pool in the UK, it's shrinking, but I see this as a greater opportunity to find those that really want success,
And when you talk about success, you've got somebody with the right attitude. How important is process when it comes to things like jobs like sales or sports?
I see the two together, obviously from a martial science perspective, where we were talking about books the other day, and from our joint reading list about martial science, which you can apply to sport in general, as in the discipline, the key metrics. If you take, as to get the first dan, to get your first black belt, it's the prep, the training, the constant judging your own performance, but then grading it against others. It's no different to doing a apprenticeship in the sales field. It's the same, what's the key metric? Is it 4,000 hours and you become an expert at something? Yeah, and it's the same, it's the grind. So in sales, you've got to do the grind, and it could be 4,000 hours of practice, but discipline is by far the key metric for me. Yeah.
You've worked all around the world, and you've had an amazing list of stories that you've been able to curate over the years. We don't have to go into so many of those today, but can you just give us an idea about which country comes to mind where you found that maybe your cultural background needed to fit maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question for me, because I've worked in Dubai, I've worked in Saudi, Thailand, you're all across Europe, just about every country, and I've worked with Americans, Spanish, and it's I call it the flavor. In the UK we have a soup brand called Heinz, and they've got 57 varieties of soup, and some of the flavors like run over into each other, and I found the same on my journeys globally with salespeople. If you're dealing with a Lebanese guy, it could be tomato soup with a hint of chili. They've got that little hot ingredient in there. If you deal with an Egyptian, for example, would be another flavor. So from a flavor perspective, the smartest I've worked with, as in natural negotiators, would have been, it's between two, it's the Lebanese and the Egyptians, between the two. Absolutely. It's almost the negotiator side of it. It's almost ingrained from them as kids when they watch the parents buying food from market stalls and stuff like this, and it's, people run from the feeling of being sold to, in Europe, especially Brits, Europeans are so scared of being sold to, don't sell to me, it's like utter nonsense, because in reality, we all love being sold to. When I say love, it's getting the perfect product, perfect price, but the experience along the way whereby it doesn't feel like a pain, it feels like a pleasure. And the Lebanese that I worked with in real estate in Dubai, going back like 25 years ago now, and the Egyptians were so silky smooth. It's almost like every word it's like floating off their tongue opposed to being projected. So by far the most efficient communicators, well, at the same time, on simple Q&A and next level, they will break you down and find out the innermost secrets from you with regard to what you want to buy, with no effort at all. So I had the pleasure with working with quite a few back in the 90s, and I learned so much just on the things said with a smile on the face, closing questions, which would normally be like with the European, where they can be quite direct. They're said in such a manner where you feel almost magnetized to answer the question. It's an incredible feeling when you work with bilingual Middle East guys. Syrians, the same sort of thing. I had a guy who used to sell Mortazi, was called, with a fez on his head. Literally, the guy looked like a caricature, but with this smile, and again the silky tonality. You go into advanced sales and you're looking at tonality and voice inflections and this sort of stuff and mirroring people. They do this naturally. It's phenomenal. I loved the time. Did about 4 or 5 years in the Middle East, and I absolutely loved it. And it set me up. Probably the most influential point of my time was working in real estate. And I've told you before, when I did all the stuff in Saudi Arabia, working on $550 million US contracts and stuff like this, that helped me so much in dealing with the Saudi nationals, which are a lot more intense than dealing with like a Bahraini or someone from the UAE. But again, when I talk with passion, I'm serious. I absolutely loved that period of my time. Absolutely loved. They you know, I just stand up in front of big groups. You know, I used to train every day back then. I'd be training, say, the start of my day would be interviewing maybe 25, 30 people. Then by sort of that'd be about 3, 6, 7. Yeah, by about 1 p.m. then I'm doing 3 or 4 hours of intensive training each day, 2 days basic, 2 days advanced, and then just top up skills later, and sort of training 5 days a week. And with these guys, I always felt like they were training me, that I wasn't training them. You know, they were just getting me to give them some rules to justify what they already knew, you know. Anyway, back to you. That's took me back years.
Well, amazing. I've had the pleasure and honor of working in that part of the world also.
You know, yeah, you know
those people.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah.
I also have to recant that having come from the United States and worked in different countries, I found that going to the UK was not that big of a jump, but it was in the beginning because I brought a team over to London.
Okay.
And this team was about some of my 12 top guys that I brought over when I was a kid, you know. And I brought them over, and some of them would leave like in the middle of the night. They would just go home. And I asked one of my guys from Alabama, I said, "Hey, what's going on? Why are all these people leaving?" And Jimmy, he was from, I think, Mississippi or Alabama. He said, "I don't know about you, Mike, but there's just too many damn foreigners over here."
Yeah, that's it. It's a funny one, you know, from the Far East stuff. That was when I first touched on, you know, working with guys from the US, and the you know, it's like in the UK, it's almost like a one cap fits all. If I work with someone from, say, Devon or London or Liverpool or Newcastle, you kind of know what you're going to get. You know, there's this British pride, this British ego, and you kind of like, you can dance in around and weave and start to release the best out of people. But like listening to your accent now, it reminds me, you know, I've worked with guys from all over America, and versus your accent, which I absolutely love, versus someone who's a broad New Yorker. It isn't just the voice that's different. It's like they're from a different country. You know, the brashness of expression and the vocalizing, the negotiation is completely different. And, you know, the pride of being a New Yorker versus someone who's a Texan, it's like, I've had to like meander around that. We have a little bit in the UK of, you know, sort of natural competitiveness between big cities. But like I said to you, it felt like different countries, the divide, you know, a Texan, smooth as silk again, versus a brash, broad, you know, hard like New Yorker. My God, talking, you know, like one's from the moon, one's from the sun. You're different way to handle different people. I only probably worked with a dozen or two, never more than that. But that was enough to show me, you know.
No, I get you. I totally get you. Tell me this. Franchising has become really big in the UK, and it looks like something that you had to look at and actually are in the middle of launching. How's that working out?
It's working out. We're getting there now. I had a beautiful concept which I created about 5 years ago, and I had some companies come and pitch me, some experts from the middle of England, and say, right, this is fantastic, your basic concept. No brainer would be the phrase to be used. And these guys were hunting me for months and months and months. So I've set up the brand, set up the process, and set up a company. And I said to these guys, look, I just want to get a few million under the belt, as in proof of life. So, and it relates to the home improvement market, which is a very buoyant, fantastic market to be within. Great cash flow, beautiful working with the domestic type clients. But then obviously the pandemic hit, and it kind of just like stopped everything. You know, the UK was in a bit of turmoil for it, and thankfully 2022 we start coming out of that. So I had to pick the ball up, readjust the model, and then I got a different team into the original team, which do all the legals, IP law, etc., marketing, branding, and they came fresh with their ideas onto the target audience for the franchise. And again, when we went into the key metrics, which is input versus output, knowledge required to achieve and make honest, good levels of income, Again, you know, the whole too good to be true thing. Well, this is exceptional in its core principle, and life's about timing, Mike. You know, and what it is the right time, right place for a simplistic product which people want. You know, and if you said to me, okay, what's the shelf life on the concept? It's going to be probably a decade or 2 decades. So it's something where if someone's got a passion for making people feel good. For example, in the UK, everyone's got these bolt-on greenhouses, they're called conservatories, and they've normally got some really poor roofing system, which is polycarb, see-through, or some very old dated double glazed unit. These things are too cold in the winter, and they're too hot in the summer, and there's mold growing, kids crying, you know, even the dogs are upset with this makeshift kennel. We've come up with a system whereby we can change that roof really easily and turn it into curtilage where it becomes part of a property. And the metrics to this, the financials, it makes sense. It makes sense for the contractor. It makes sense for the customer. But the net result, the biggest Gucci reason, and I love that word Gucci, is that the dynamics of increase of value in the property, it stacks. So the net result is the shift in money from their bank account into their property. The person who gets the franchise is assisting people in something that changes their life. So positive, positive, positive. There's no negatives to it. The transition of information, which is the most important thing, that's what I'm working on now, which we want to make this franchise where it isn't just about who you need to recruit, what van you need to drive, what you need to do. It's the delivery of it. We're now working on how to teach someone, whether they're a tradesman or a non-tradesperson, how to deliver a value proposition that makes sense. You know, it's a sale without the sale. That's the key metric to this. Is nobody should be selling. It should be, you know, a proposition where they go, "Thank you." That's the net result.
Yeah, and I admire that, because I look at so many businesses today that want to take their business into a franchise, but they don't have the awareness or the ability to understand how to scale it, to really make it. Having a franchise, which I've done in the past, some of my businesses, I just had another office. I controlled it. I got another owner in. I operated it for a while. I got the new owner in, and then I germinated, pollinated that way. But you're going to create an ecosystem whereby somebody's going to come in and they're going to get a full turnkey kit from A to Z, with the knowledge, with all of the other things that they will need to be successful. And you'll be able to take that on a national basis throughout the UK. Is that right?
That's correct, Mike. But there's a lot when you're talking about breadth, width, upscale, or simply stick to one scale. What it offers is a chance to keep it simple, or be stupid. So you've got the people who say, look, you know, I want a regular, decent earning from something that works, versus the person who's going to be coming back to me and saying, okay, what's all the additional products? Because within the makeover concept, which is taking something which can be recycled effectively, where you're not having to destroy it, or you're taking a portion of it and you're delivering an option whereby it's the highest yield for that given project. It's the scalability from that. So we're looking at potential bolt-on solar products that can go on. So we're looking layers past, not too much in depth as yet. I've got like another 10 concepts to bolt on. But my decision was, as someone who wants people to succeed, my decision was to focus on delivering the skill and the tools in which to be successful. You know, because you look at a lot of franchise models, they're more about just taking a lot of money as quickly as you can and not really worrying about the end user. Hence
how do you control the installation, or how do you control the quality of the work remotely?
That's the simple bit. So the simple bit is, because the products we're using are literally the best on the marketplace, we get the backup. So when it comes to, you know, we introduce the products from companies that have been manufacturing, say, for like 25, 30 years. So with that comes the backup, installation guides, installation meetings. You've got the key metrics, the surveying to make sure things are safe. These are all simplistic metrics to teach. The bit which is the most important bit for these type of franchises is when you're going toe to toe with your competitors, it's teaching how to deliver. Why choose us? So that to me is the biggest thing that will equal success, as in monetary success, financial stability for those that put their hard-earned money into this, is giving them the skills, the brand, the method of execution, whereby they can walk into someone's house with confidence and say, use us. This is why, this is what it costs, and these are the reasons you should use us. It's delivering that professional finish whereby someone says, yeah, okay, we want to use you and choose you. It's like, say you line up 6 international offshore powerboats, yeah? Someone's got to teach you to drive it if you want to be in that race. You can't just jump in it, turn the key and just go off. You'll crash and burn. And it's the same with this. We'll give you something that's polished. We'll give you something that will equate to income instantly. But we got to teach you how to not just deliver it, but deliver the value proposition where someone says, yes, Michael, you're the man. That's what we want to do, And having talked, and I've spent years playing with the whole franchise model. I've got loads of friends who have bought into, and I won't quote which companies, but they've come out of the forces, as you know, I was in the Royal Navy. They've come out and they've spent their gratuity, tens of thousands of pounds on something which would have been an industry they had no experience in, and then they're dumped high and dry. Where do they get their leads from as their inquiries? Okay, you're part of a database, but then they give out too many franchises because all they want to do is take money. So I've listened over the last 2 decades to so many sad stories, sob stories, where people have just said, well, they rinsed me and then that was it. And I mean, some of these guys are old friends of mine who've taken out second mortgages, and they've been sold this dream. Then in reality, I'll see them in 10 years time and they're like driving a taxi or something. So again, it's that professional integrity side of it, is that hand holding. But the good thing about this is when you're selling information, you're selling your knowledge and you're selling your passion. I'm not doing it for free. There's commissions which then get paid back. So my knowledge is, it's being franchised, but it's being franchised in a way where they're accessing it for quite a low cost with a massive return. So, from a working smart perspective, I can hold these people's hands really easily. My son, we talked about my son yesterday. I mean, my son, who I've trained up over the last one-on-one stuff for the last couple of years. Prior to that was with me for quite a few years. I've trained Jack up to now with the advanced stuff to where Jack is absolutely prolific. My son as a sales director is prolific. I can send him to anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, and he would be able to deliver and explain how to keep it simple and excel. So this isn't just me. My son is a shareholding director as well, Jack, who's going to be 30 soon. Jack is awesome, and he's got hair. How about that, Mike? He's got a beautiful head of hair.
We're talking to Andy Barker.
My brother had died. He's my baby brother, and he took himself out of the game. And I genuinely wanted to die. Knocked on the door. Couldn't bring myself to leave my family, my kids, etc., etc. So when you met me in Thailand, I was broken, but you had no clue. When I met you in London, broken, but you had no clue. Because of the Chinese side of my training, as in thick face, black heart, I was able to create a facade which was a one-way mirror. Inside, I'm broken, but you never got to see, I'm up on the stage in front of 300 people commanding a conference. No one knew. Underneath, I was broken. I dig deep to everything that I knew from the warrior side, which I kept my problem personal to me. I did not let anyone know it. Anyone, massive drink problem. Nobody knew this, yeah? So it's one of those where inside me, it was the one foot in front of the other. It was the key metric was I got into EFT with a guy called Tony Robbins, who's not Anthony Robbins, but Tony Robbins, who was an absolute legend. I had one meeting with him, and there was a guy there who looked like Brad Pitt. So you've got, and I mean, this guy was Brad Pitt. He fashioned himself on Brad Pitt. That change where I shifted into emotional freedom technique, which I use in sales as well. That was what changed my life. I got into Richard Cracknell, I got into finding solutions rather than just leaving myself in pain. But it was I would say, the key metric to me would probably be, it was the bridge. It was the point at which I understood that you could be fixed. And it was emotional freedom technique that did that to me, which is why I became a practitioner and got into all the other things.
And for those who are not familiar with EFT, is that also known as tapping?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, meridian tapping. I trained under the best in the world, Dr. Roger Callahan, but I distaste of EFT, and I did about 25 sessions. And you learn, you cannot lose the memory of the event, but I learned how to remove the pain, and in so doing, I lost all grasping attachment to negatives, whereby you kind of then feel you're invincible. So since in that time I met you in London, I've just reached the point where I was feeling pretty invincible, and I still do now. So if you take me, Mike, I've got a broken foot and I'm walking on it. Yeah, I broke my knee how many years ago now? I've got sciatica. I recently had a car crash and hurt my back. I had a frozen shoulder, tennis elbow, arthritis in my fist, arthritis in my spine. Got a big crack that runs through my head, and I've got done my neck in years ago in the military. So what you've got is the lessons I learned through the emotional freedom technique set me up to be able to master myself, and really, you know, it was that one pivotal point where I thought, you know, these meridian tapping things, that set me on a path of where now I am. It taught me to separate my mind from my body. So my body is my vehicle. It's not my everything. My everything is my mindset. You with me? So now so it's almost like mindfulness. I've separated my body from my mind. That's why I can be effective now at any age. And I can see me having these conversations with you when I'm about 90 years old, because I've separated my mind from my body. So that would probably be the pivotal thing, was the emotional freedom technique. Is that started a journey of separation between mind and body, where you become all powerful, really. What do you think of that as a topic?
I think it's wonderful, and thank you for that discussion. We're with Andy Parker. We're just going to take a break right now, and then when we come back, we're going to ask him about the future. What are young people to do today? How are their work ethics, and what is their mindset? We'll be right back.
I've got my daughter working with me now, yeah. I've got loads of family people leaning on me. And what I've seen, Mike, is in the UK, specifically due to the lockdowns, the children now, when I say children, I'm talking about teenagers, they seem lost. Look, drive and feel, not all of them, but a lot of them the lockdowns has affected their chi to such a bad degree where they need to be with strong leadership to be realigned, yeah, because they you know, this thing where if you say to people enough, stay at home and save lives, these kids have been neuro-linguistically programmed to believe that staying home is life-saving. And obviously I'm from a construction family background, which is, if you take one day sick, you should not be in construction. If you take one day sick in your entire life, you're not manly enough to be in construction. That's my heritage from my stepfather and my real dad. Is like, it's not manly to be sick, to be home. It's not manly. So I'm from sort of, you know, this archaic caveman world as a kid. But now the children, obviously, they're coming up against resistance. You know, I've got a few apprentices that work for me and the younger guys, and work ethic wise, we're having to reprogram these people because they believe the sickness is saving lives and all the rest of it. Whereas I'm having to over imprint over the top to explain to them they're part of a team. So, you know, what I'm having to do is, rather than turn around to someone who's weak or has been neuro-linguistically programmed to think that not being committed is okay. Rather than bringing anything negative, I'm using the strength of teamwork. The team bond is the way I'm breaking this underlying programming now. So it's like, if you let the team down, if you let, you're part of a team, it's your brother. It's going back to military basics, really, which is you're part of a unit. That's what I'm working on now, in order to try and realign the younger guys, because they've been they don't quite understand, because no one's explained to them the damage that's been done to them mentally with regard to their work ethic. Are we on live, or am I
Sure,
going down the right way? Yeah. So that's, from my perspective, is you have to be careful now. On the balance of what I understand, the children are our future. Yeah, this is not a Whitney Houston song. This is reality. These kids are fantastic because they'll save this earth, they'll save this planet, because they've been awakened on the good things, which is, we need oxygen, we need a sea that's not full of plastic, we need fish that's not going to poison us, we need crops to grow. So you've got these kids are so alert now to the state of the world, and I love the fact that they're bringing chaos to the table, and as much as they're saying, hang on a minute, this is our world now, you're all going to pass, this is our world. So you've got this fantastic element of children standing up now and saying, this is our planet, we want it saved. But at the same time, they're going to work and they're causing chaos because of potential sickness and a lack of strong work ethic. So you've got this bonkers scale thing going on, where I look at these kids and I think, you are the future. You're stepping up. You're standing up to a system which is an absolute nightmare. Because you take the political system; it's been around for hundreds of years, and it's established. But these kids are so funky. They're like, no, we're gonna get 150 of us and lay on the floor of a motorway. These kids are like phenomenal with their commitment. But then they go into work and they're not wanting to kind of toe the line because of sickness, lack of energy, lethargy, no direction, because of what the lockdown has damaged them mentally. So from my perspective, it's easy as an employer to turn around and say, well, let's just not have any young people. They're aggro, they're trouble, let's not bother. It's the easiest thing in the world to have prejudice towards apprentices or younger people, because they've got this energy which is some of it's really well positioned, and other side of it is badly positioned because of the stay at home, protect lives, protect the NHS. So again, my angle is to use a bit of spin, take their mind away from the situations that they're so passionate about, and teach them about new situations, which is team spirit, being part of something where, I call it, loosely speaking, God's work, where it could be an installation of someone's, we were talking about home improvements earlier. It could be taking something that's appalling and turn it into an item of beauty. So I use key phrases with these apprentices, with the young people, where, man, you're doing God's work, you're changing lives, you're creating success by way of a positive emotion. I am overprinting neuro-linguistically with a whole different theme, which is, you can do something now. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's got to be hard work orientated. Getting these guys to want to work a long day, to not be on their phones. There's like an umbilical cord to an iPhone now, or whatever type of phone that it is. And kids, they don't really, when I say kids again, it sounds disrespectful, and it's not meant to be that way. I'm just feeling really old, so I call them kids, but I'm talking 16 to 20-year-olds. There's this attachment to the mobile phones, and that's another metric of breaking that blankie, that dodo, which is their phone, not just in their pocket, but leave it in the van, and let's do something fantastic. So my approach is spin, really. Spin them out, teach them something different. And rather than argue the toss about what they're passionate about, I just overprint with what I'm passionate about and just keep steamroller and see. And with the neuro-linguistic programming, within probably 4 or 5 weeks, I've got key metric guys, youngsters saying, yeah, we're doing God's work, boss. It's a fantastic feeling when they start using phraseology that equates to passion, But I get them to take photographs of everything they do on a daily basis and then take the pride, take the bow, So again, it's tough going because the world's an ever-changing place, but I just work strong on the basics and keep taking them back to base.
Fantastic. We were talking today with Andy Parker, author, speaker, military man, and he's been giving us some advice and some insights about the mindset of children today. When we say children today, just a few years younger than the both of us. Thank you. This has been your episode of Mission Impossible. Stay tuned, like, subscribe, and we'll be seeing Andy Parker again, of course, and we'll bring him back on our leadership series. And until then, thank you and have a possible day.
God bless, Mike. See you soon.